You can't turn your phone while recording.
Good morning, and I'm glad everybody could be here virtually and physically. We've got a great morning today to talk about our alternative response unit. And I will talk sort of at the 30,000 foot level, and then we'll hear from both our leadership team and also the folks who are going to do the real work, and I'm very excited about it. In context, I think it's important to say all over America, there's a discussion going on about how to do policing differently and how to provide services appropriately to people who need something more than a law enforcement response. This is a national discussion. We need to use our police well trained for it. They tend to be 24/7 response operation. They are the Swiss Army knife of public service. And as a consequence, they end up doing things that are being asked to do things that we really don't want them to do. We want other people to do better training or different skills. And that's what the alternative response unit is responding to. It's an awareness that there are people in our community who have behavioral health needs, mental health needs, social issues that really don't rise to the level of being a matter of law enforcement. They're a matter of public health. So when we reorganized city government to create a community health and safety department, it was a step toward that recognition that health and safety have to work together. This response unit reflects that awareness that health and safety have to participate, have to be joined together so our community gets the response that is appropriate with the skills that meet the situation. We're very fortunate here in Santa Fe that our leadership team gets it. They are eager to collaborate, work together, and not get caught up in any kind of silo dispute, but rather work across departments in a collaborative and cooperative way so that our residents get the services that they need. And the team that you're going to meet today really are reflective of that commitment to delivering the right service the right way at the right time. That's sort of the 30,000 foot picture. Director Ochoa, do you want to give the briefing about what's really going on here? And I think tie it into MIHO because there's some good history here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Ochoa, Acting Director of the new Community Health and Safety Department. As the Mayor mentioned, our public safety response here in Santa Fe is, I think, one of the best. I think we can stand up against any community in the country, certainly in the state. We have had a long history of collaboration between police, fire, and community services, and this new department only strengthens that commitment to collaborate to meet the needs of people with behavioral health issues in Santa Fe and make our whole community safer in doing that. We've had a number of wonderful projects. The police department has been extremely proactive in making sure that every officer has crisis intervention training and has embraced the lead now known as the Thrive program to divert people with low-level drug offenses into treatment, which is a much more appropriate response for them. And as the Mayor mentioned, the fire department's long-standing efforts to use a data-driven approach to helping people maintain their health in our community and helping our whole community be safer has been exemplified by the MIHO project and the Mobile Integrated Health Office, which has been providing appropriate response for people with mental health and substance use needs in Santa Fe for years now. So the alternative response unit is really an outgrowth of that and that commitment to making sure that people in need get the appropriate response, get the appropriate services, and that police can be freed up to do the work that police knows how to do best, and so can fire. I think that what we're going to learn here as this new team launches is what exactly our response needs to be as we grow. I do want to acknowledge that we're building on the work of community partners here in Santa Fe. We're very fortunate to have a very active NAMI partner here who has long advocated for their family members with mental health needs to be met appropriately. We have a wonderful leadership team at the county that we collaborate with, and the county's new crisis center is going to be a key partner in this, as is their mobile crisis response team. So without further ado, I want to introduce the leaders who've been working on this project for a very long time, our chiefs. First, Chief Babcock from our fire department, and then Chief Padilla from our police department.
Good morning and welcome. It's a very exciting day that we're at this point on getting this alternative response unit out and running. Many years ago, some of my staff, Mobile Integrated Health Officer Andres Mercado, and I had a conversation about this project that Colorado Springs was launching, and it's a unit that would have a case manager, a paramedic, and a police officer. And this unit was going to respond to behavioral health, mental illness, and addiction problems in their community. It really caught my attention where myself and Chief Padilla later on had this conversation, and we're excited to say, hey, this could work for our community. There are a lot of communities across the country that are doing something very similar, but we didn't want Santa Fe to just do a cookie cutter type of approach. We had to make sure that we customized it for our community. So with that being said, mental health crisis response is not really well developed in the pre-hospital setting. Most often, police and fire are the only options. So by getting this unit up and running, as Kara and the Mayor Weber stated, we'll have the appropriate response to appropriate types of calls. Fire department will be at a state of readiness for the bigger apparatus to be ready for heavy rescue, motor vehicle accidents, or actual fires, instead of going to medical calls, where this unit will respond and have three subject matter experts, as I stated, behavioral health with a case manager, police officer for scene safety and law enforcement needs, and paramedic for EMS clearance. So it's very exciting that we're at the point. May 4th is our day that we'll be launching this unit, and it'll be operating for the first 3 weeks, 2 days a week, and then we'll expand those hours and expand our units hopefully in early July. With that, I'm very happy and excited that we've been working on this project for many years, and now we're at the breaking ground and making this unit respond very shortly. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Andrew Padilla, Chief of Police. This is a great day, as we all know that we got to evolve with law enforcement, working with our other departments within the city. And we understand that you have to think outside of the box sometimes. This is nothing new, but we've taken a lot of effort, collected a lot of data to see how we can move forward in policing and helping and connecting people to the resources here within the city of Santa Fe, which in turn will allow the police officers to focus on what? Community policing, proactive patrols, burglary patrols, getting out and interacting with the public. That's what we're focusing on, and that's what we want to accomplish. Basic calls that come into the call for service of the dispatch center are disorderly conducts, welfare checks, this person's aggressively panhandling, this person's laying on the sidewalk. With this team, we want to have this team go out and outreach and speak to these people and connect with the services, which in turn will allow our police officers to focus on those patrols, and they won't have to respond to those basic calls for service. So that's the overall priority. So thank you very much. I'd like to introduce the members of the team if they want to step on it.
Good morning. My name is Andres Mercado. I'm the Battalion Chief for Mobile Integrated Health for the city. And this here is the team of interdisciplinary team of social worker, case managers, and paramedics who will be staffing the unit along with the police officer. As you can see from the background, the ambulance, the fire truck, and this SUV, the fire department, has a strong mobile infrastructure, which we hope to leverage. We've leveraged that for some time for physical health issues, and now we want to try and bring the strengths that we have to this broader goal of integrating public safety and public health. So I want to say thank you to not just the team, but everybody in the department and across the city that's really made this come true. So
Let's let everybody take a a shot at introducing yourself, because this is a big day. It'd be nice for you to be able to talk about who you are, what role you're going to play, and because I suspect that we have a reporter who's going to want to talk to you more than to me. So just take turns and say a few words about who you are and what your role is.
Hi, I'm Nicole Alt. I'm a clinical social worker. I've been working with the Mobile Integrated Health Office for 3 years, and I'm really excited that our community is willing to work on this and move forward. It's my job to support this team so that they can support our community, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
My name's Ramos. I'm a paramedic. I've been doing case management for the fire department for about 6 years, and something that comes to mind as I'm doing this now is that I remember a call a while back. I was transporting someone to the hospital with a pretty minor problem, or seemed minor at the time, and I was driving by a structure fire and thinking, why am I here doing this now when I could be doing that or should be doing that? It seemed like a big deal. And when I was doing some research about Cahoots, they talked about how when their providers are with the behavioral health emergency, they literally have nothing more important that they need to do. So I think with police officers, with firefighters, we put them in a tough position because we need to respond to cardiac arrests, shootings, etc. So it's a little hard for us to prioritize the behavioral health emergency. So looking forward to going out, visiting with people, and really having nothing more important to do.
It's a beautiful story.
Good morning. My name is William Brunson. I'm a paramedic with Santa Fe Fire Department. I've been working here for 20 years and been on the ambulance for 20 years. Although I've had no formal mental health and substance abuse training, being on the ambulance for that long, you sort of have hundreds of hours of on-the-job training with dealing with that sort of situation. And it's going to be nice to be able to work with patients that have substance abuse problems and mental health problems, and be able to possibly, rather than take them to the ER, which might not be the best experience for them or the staff working at the ER and not what they need, we can direct them to other resources around town that can help them navigate and hopefully deal with the problems that they have at the time. Thank you.
Well said.
I'm Matthew Martin. I've been with the fire department as a case manager for about 1.5 years. I've been doing this work for about 5 years. I'm excited about the unit to be able to help somebody and during the moments of some of the most difficult times in their lives, instead of trying to help somebody after the matter. So this is pretty exciting to help somebody in real time, and I'm excited to see where it goes going forward.
My name is Victoria Velarde, and I am the admin assistant. I do a lot of the background research for the individuals that we work with. So just helping find out their past and doing it so we can document and know for future reference.
Victoria's being modest. She is our administrative assistant, but she's also kind of like our Oz. She is the intel that knows everything and has a finger on the pulse of all the information. Without her, we would be who knows where. I'm Faith, and an EMS captain also. Captain Brunson didn't introduce himself as an EMS captain, but he's one as well. And Captain Brunson and Captain Johnson and myself are the EMS captains. Captain Brunson will be primarily staffing the unit in the paramedic role. We're all paramedics as well. And then Captain Johnson and myself will serve as backup when he's not available. That's my understanding.
Said it all. Tell a story. Tell us your story.
Not too great. It would take too long. Steve Johnson is my name. I'm an EMS captain, and I'm excited. This has been a long time coming, this alternate response vehicle, but I think it's got a lot of good potential to help the people in our community that need services outside what law enforcement can provide and outside what EMS can provide.
That's well said. Chief, did you want to speak about our missing officers who are doing some training today?
I did, thank you. Officer Mariah Gonzalez of the Santa Fe Police Department will be the officer assigned to this alternative response unit. She's currently attending a 40-hour course in crisis negotiations, which is a requirement to be part of this team. She's down in Albuquerque participating in this training with the FBI. So Officer Mariah Gonzalez will be the officer assigned to the alternative response unit. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. So I just want to put a capstone on it and say a few things about these individuals and the work they always do, but this new opportunity. It is absolutely clear to me what a remarkable group of women and men we have in our public safety and public health operations. They do a remarkable job every day. They're there, they respond, they care, they're compassionate, and now they're innovative. They're building on the success of MIHO, as Kira said, the diversion program that has been trying to take people out of the criminal justice system into services and healing. This builds on that, and it also is part of a national movement. We are at the forefront of an awareness around the country that there are different kinds of demands on our police and fire and emergency personnel than we often ask them to do. We ask them to do everything all the time. We ask them to be responsive 24/7. We ask them to be trained up for every potentiality, and now we're seeing it's better if we have some specialized resources designed to speak to particular circumstances. It's good for the police and fire people. They know where their priorities are, and as we've heard, they're on call to do the work that they have been asked to do, but we now have a group of people who will respond to a particular set of needs of our residents and give them the care, the compassion, the consideration that they deserve, and the services that will actually take a systems problem and provide a systems solution. So I think it is something that the people of Santa Fe can be proud of. It's a sign of innovation. It's a sign of flexibility on the part of city government to take a look at how people are living today and how our trained and very, very valuable people are being deployed, and make the best match of need and capability so that we really solve problems going forward. So I'm very thankful to everybody here for what you do. You are, as Kira said, the best of the best, and we're grateful to you. And I think the people of the city are grateful for the services and this new unit that's coming forward. That pretty much concludes the prepared remarks. We have a member of the Fourth Estate among us. I don't know if you have any questions for any of our team here. Happy to let them speak to your questions. You probably should come a little closer.
Yeah. Well, my first question is, you guys have said, this is a long time coming. So can you just, whoever can speak best to that, can just elaborate on how long it has been and what you guys have done to create this force?
Yeah, the backstory. Andres, where'd he go? There. You've been toiling at this thing, the originator. Come on up here to the podium. Talk about the history, the evolution. You're the main.
So this is as the mayor said, this is a national movement and a national awareness about matching supply and demand. As several of the people that have come up here have mentioned, we all have some of us several decades in the fire service and responding. And about almost 7 years ago now, then Fire Chief Eric Litzenberg wanted the department to start looking at opportunities on how to best match that supply and demand. So he set aside some folks, and city government was very supportive of it. And we started with follow-up. So we would identify individuals that were in the 911 system that were having issues that were apparently not being met with the resources that they were receiving. So we started doing follow-up case management with those individuals, reaching out to them, building relationships with them, understanding their barriers, understanding their goals and motivations, and we've been doing that for quite some time, working with individuals with concerning patterns of 911 utilization, with individuals who have survived an opiate overdose, with individuals that are frontline firefighters have referred in, with individuals that are law enforcement partners have referred in, and I think that the national awareness is just sort of caught up with the times and with the need, and both elected officials and staff have done a great job of understanding where there's shared value, shared value, and so it's been about 6 or 7 years, and the staff that are up here have all, for the most part, received quite a bit of firsthand experience dealing with that follow-up care, as Matt Martin was mentioning, and bringing that to the scene of the 911 call will just allow us to really have some real-time interventions, and also do harm reduction around our own 911 response, being more aware of how sometimes the 911 response can be pretty problematic. We haven't seen that locally. My hat's off to the police department. Nothing but good things to say about the police department and the interactions that I've personally witnessed on the scene. But as we see at the national level, there's more and more of a need to bring those specialists to the scene so that we can make sure that we have improved outcomes, improved client satisfaction, and also improved provider satisfaction. Our law enforcement officers and our firefighters, we ask a lot of them. So we're hoping to bring additional resources to really help with those super tough situations. But it's several years in the making and a big national conversation. So it's the fruit has ripened, and now it's time to pick it and get this vehicle out there and start helping people.
Sure. My second question, again, to whoever is best suited to answer it, is just how will it work? The calls come into dispatch and a team is assembled twice a week, or I guess I just want to learn a little bit more about what will happen when these calls come in.
Through the actual operation.
Chief Babcock, Chief Padilla?
That's a great question, Victoria, but like I said, during the first initial few weeks, the calls will come into the dispatch center. So this need for call for service, or the type of call, there isn't going to be an individual phone number to call that specific number. There's not going to be a standalone phone number, so it is going to be either a 911 call into the Regional Emergency Communication Center, or the basic phone number of 505-428-3710. And then based upon that information, the team is going to self-dispatch. In other words, they're going to see, based upon their availability and where they're going, what they're going to do. If they see this call for service pop up of a man down, or this person's aggressively panhandling, disorderly conduct, or they already have a compiled list, they need to do a case follow-up with that individual or family, at that point they're going to go around. And afterwards, as we expand months into it, years into it, that's when the dispatch center can stand alone, generate a standalone code or call for service, and we start dispatching from that.
Sure.
Does that work?
Sure. As has been spoken, we will have a case manager, social worker, paramedic, EMS captain on that unit, as well as a police officer. It's exciting now that we have this one unit that will be rolling out May 4th, but it is in our next year's fiscal budget, both PD and Fire Community Health and Safety Department, to have a second unit up and running after July. So it's going to be a lot of data driven. Right now, the people who are staffing that unit will have a computer with both PD and fire calls, and then, as Chief Padilla said, they'll self-dispatch. So if they're readily available and in that location, they'll go to that type of call. So what's taking place right now, for an example, a man down call, the RECC dispatch will send out a fire truck with 3 personnel, an ambulance with 2 personnel, and then 2 law enforcement. So we have a lot of people responding for that type of call. This, we hope, will reduce that call resource use, and then we'll have better use for those resources. So we're hoping not only for a right size response, but a right service response.
Sure.
Thank you.
Let me just add, I appreciate that, Chief. He mentioned the budget, which is what I wanted to follow up on. The budget right now is in front of the city council. The finance committee is hearing it. There is $475,000 in next year's budget to expand this and add Team 2 to the outreach effort. So I think what you hear from all of our folks today is that we all believe this is the right thing to do right now. It has been a process to get here, but if you look at how cities across America are trying to respond to different needs in different times, and a better utilization of the trained men and women in the fire and police department, this approach makes real sense. We want to build on it. We want to grow it, and that 475,000 makes that possible. What else can we do for you today?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I wonder if we could invite Tom Stark up from NAMI to just say a few words. If I couldn't put you on the spot, Mr. Stark.
Oh, you're welcome to put me on the spot.
And talk about the walk.
Oh, we can talk about the walk, but I really want to talk about this team because 7 years ago I was around the table with Andreas when we began talking about this, and we began talking about many approaches to improving care for people with mental illness, people with behavioral illness in our community. And I think this movement, this change is essential. I think all the other improvements have also been very essential, because one of the things not spoken here is these problems are family problems, and Santa Fe is a community of families. And families struggling with an individual with a mental illness diagnosis, a substance use problem, are always hesitant to call 911 for help because they're afraid it won't come out well. They read the news, they see the TV, and there's a lot of fear out there. And this is a major step forward in being able to build trust and demonstrate competence in being able to come in and help on 911 calls, and encourage families to get the help as soon as they need it and not put it off until the situation becomes extremely dire and the outcome is often worse. So I think getting the word out about this is extremely important, and especially getting the word out about its success so that people will know the resources there. I applaud the mayor in increasing this effort, because as soon as it starts working, everybody will want it. And we really need to be able to support our families who are carrying the load with behavioral illnesses in our community. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
What else? You've got the floor.
Sure. So how will you measure whether the program is successful? What does success look like in this position? And, you know, if you determine that adjustments need to be made, how will that be done?
Yeah, speaking of success, because come on up. This is a data-driven team.
Sure. That's a great question. Thank you for the question. First and foremost, the goal is to, as everyone has said, make sure that people with behavioral health problems who are generating calls for service get the appropriate help that they need, so that we can measure success by tracking and following up on whether folks were connected to services, which we have a mechanism for doing. Another measure of success, I think, is also going to be the calls for service, as Chief Padilla mentioned and Chief Babcock mentioned, so that we relieve pressure on our public safety system to make sure it's ready to respond to, high crisis situations of other types. And so one of the things the team will be doing is tracking what kinds of calls really needed a police response and which ones maybe didn't. And this is a pilot phase where we'll learn more about how we want to move into phase 2 and beyond. So we'll be ultimately in the long haul tracking impacts on calls for service by the existence of these teams, which we hope will grow and proliferate. We have seen that happen in other parts of the country, in Oregon with the Cahoots program. These measures are hard to do, but by some accounts, 17% reduction in calls for service that police have to respond to. In Denver, we're seeing small reductions in that as well. Again, the most important thing is that we're getting folks, as Tom mentioned, who are suffering from mental illness and substance use disorder into the help they need, because that creates the safer community for all. I think other measures might be, how does the general community feel? Do we feel safer because we're not maybe exposed to people who are really in crisis outdoors, calling on all our public service, public safety response? So I could probably go on and on, but Andres, Chief Padilla, would you like to add anything to that?
I would.
Thank you.
Yes, Victoria, just expanding on it further. It's a slow rollout. We want to do this right. So it's not like we're going to have the end result or all the data within 30, 60, or 90 days. I think within 90 days, I think we'll have a general idea of what we're looking at, as the director mentioned, which calls law enforcement or firefighters actually need to go on. But expanding on that, it's going to be a slow rollout, so I think in 6 months we'll have a better feel of how the team is doing overall, and then that will guide us for the second team.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I want to echo what Chief Padilla and Director Ochoa mentioned, that the most important thing is that we're getting individuals with specific training for the specific issues that they're calling for. And I think that sometimes when people try to be data-driven, they lose the common sense factor. But specific things that we're going to be tracking are commitment factor for police officers and calls for service, any safety issues that are encountered, as well as services provided on scene, such as de-escalation, crisis intervention, and referrals, both internally to our own case management team, which I mentioned we have in place and have had in place for some time, and also external referrals to our partners.
What else can we do for you today?
This is such a strange experience.
It's a little weird, but you're doing well. I think you've managed to reduce the level of weirdness.
I was hoping to learn a little bit more about how you compiled the team and whether everybody on it is sort of already internally employed with the City of Santa Fe, or if you've hired anybody from the outside to help supplement the project.
Would you speak to that question?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it is all about the team.
So for the start of the rollout, we do have internal staff. We have our EMS captains, and we have a current law enforcement officer that will be doing that. One of our case managers is Ramos. He has 20 years service with us, but we are also hiring. We actually just had some interviews for some case managers. 2 will start, and we hope within the next week. And then after July 1, with this budget approval, we'll be hiring 2 additional and another EMS captain. So there is growth in the department, both police and fire, for case management and then EMS captains. But initially, the staffing will be from internal employees or people that we're reassigning to different to this unit.
As far as the police department, it was opened up internally as an opportunity for an officer who is off probation to submit a memorandum of interest, pretty much. Then they went through an interview panel with myself and the other command staff, and Officer Mariah Gonzalez was selected for the position. She was very eager for the position. She already has the 40-hour basic crisis intervention training. As mentioned earlier, currently this week she's in the 40-hour crisis negotiating team training with the FBI. Ongoing training of first aid. She's also a tactical medic with the police department, so she understands that medical need, and if there's a critical incident out and about in the field, she also has that capability, and then obviously the ability to secure the scene for other officers to arrive on scene. So she was willing to step up to the plate. She's a great officer, willing to learn, willing to give back to the community and make it a better place.
May I add something? So the team, the individuals that are going to be actually inside of that vehicle is a small group. They've been carefully selected. They have additional training, or will have additional training. But there's also the support team. So Victoria Velarde, our administrative assistant, Nicole Alt, our social worker. There are a lot of people that are not on that vehicle that are part of the team. And I want to extend that even a little further out. Our firefighters and our cops are responding to about 100,000 calls for service every single year. So they're doing a lot of this work as well. And I just want to applaud the leadership of both police and fire as they recognize that real need, and the fact that we could have an enormous workforce multiplier and really have everybody be part of this, not just one special group, because it's impossible for one team to respond to all those calls for service. So the team is really broad. The individuals on that unit are going to be sort of the tip of the spear, but you know, there are 100,000 calls for service every year. So I just want to sort of broaden the idea of team around what we're doing for this as a community.
Sure.
That is the right number.
Yes. My last question is just to understand a little bit more of everybody's role in an immediate situation. So what would the caseworker do? What would the police officer do? You know, how would that work?
Sure. You want to do a hypothetical and describe what a call would trigger in the way of a response, and who would do what? How can you really take that?
I don't want to take that, but maybe Chief Padilla and Chief Babcock could start, and then if Andres and Castillo
And you get a call for service?
Yeah. So if you get a call for a certain type of call that this unit will be responding to, I'm going to use a man down for an example. As I stated earlier, with initial dispatch for that type of call right now today, you have a fire truck, an ambulance, and 2 police officers respond for that. So the unit will have both CAD information, computer-aided dispatch information from the RECC. They'll see the police side calls and the fire side calls. That unit will self-dispatch to that call, and for the example I'm using, man down, the police officer will make sure the scene is safe, and that makes sure that there isn't a need for additional backup from law enforcement. The paramedic will make sure that that person is EMS cleared, that they didn't need transport to the hospital or take care of any type of medical needs on the scene. And then the case manager gets involved and see if this person is already connected to services or needs connection to services. And then what they'll do is see what can be addressed at the scene. And then what cannot be addressed at the scene, as I just said, there'll be behind the scene case managers that will hand that patient off to those case managers, and they'll connect them to services and do follow up with that individual.
So I think Chief Babcock explained it well, but to expand, like I said, securing the scene, the officer would arrive and make sure that the person isn't armed with a knife, doesn't have many pocket knives, guns, grenades, what's in their backpack or personal belongings with them. And if this person is going to be taken to the hospital, what happens to their property? Do they have 1 backpack, 2 backpacks, or a shopping cart full of items? That officer would also be responsible for that property, of itemizing it, inventorying it, and then submitting it to the evidence room for safety. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if the police officer will be the only one armed on the scene.
Yes, that is correct. The officer will be the only one armed. The officer is also going to be dressed down, similar to the uniform that I'm wearing, the standard police uniform. The officer is not going to be wearing that uniform. That way they have a better interaction with the community and that individual. It's a dressed down uniform of tactical pants, or pants similar to what you see the firefighters and paramedics wearing today. And then she'll be wearing a polo shirt, obviously still with all of her duty belt and body armor and items that she needs. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.
Good?
I think that's it.
Good. I want to thank everybody for being here. What a great day. It's really exciting. You're right. It's been a while, but we got there, and then we're going to grow it. And to Tom, thank you. You've been working in this field for a long time, and you know what we need to do to help people when they're in pain and when they're suffering and what their families are up against. And you didn't mention the NAMI walk. Oh, come on! When is the? Give a little promo here for the NAMI walk.
Now, the NAMI walk is in early May. It will be down in Albuquerque, and we strongly encourage everybody to support us. Go to NAMI Santa Fe's Facebook page or NAMI New Mexico's page. Lots of good information. It's NAMI's big fundraising event, and NAMI's big role is supporting people with mental illness diagnoses and their families navigate the system. We provide classes, we provide one-on-one help, and it's really for a good cause to help people through helping their families.
Yeah, and this is not on subject, but if I can return the favor of your questions, this is a serious moment we're in right now as we come out of COVID, and thanks for everybody for wearing your masks and being on the front line of that response and getting our people the help they need across the city with COVID. We're getting the vaccinations, we're still wearing masks, we're being safe, and I think the next COVID-related crisis will be a mental health crisis. We're going to see people coming out of a year of hard times, and they're going to need a lot of support. And NAMI is there to help, and this unit is there to help as people don't know how to deal with the aftermath of a national tragedy. The impact on our families and our friends, our co-workers, will be seen not so much through the virus in the body, but the after effects in your spirit and in your mind. So behavioral health and mental health are critical. This unit is the right response at the right time, but it's not enough. And so please contribute to NAMI, take part in the NAMI walk, and build our infrastructure for mental health. We've got to get rid of the stigma around mental and behavioral health, treat it as something where people need help, not incarceration. So this is a step in that direction. And with that, thank you, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. You've done great. You really have. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Thank you.